This audiobook is not about tricks or manipulation. It's about awareness, emotional intelligence, and mastering connection on a deeper level. Once you understand how women think, feel, and love, everything in your relationships changes, because real power begins with understanding. You think you understand her because you hear her words. You think communication is about what's said, not what's felt. But what you miss is that her world is built on signals most men never learn to read. A woman's language is emotional, layered, and alive. It moves through energy more than logic, through tone more than text, through what is not said more than what is. Most men spend years looking at women, but never really seeing them. They respond to what's on the surface, but never touch the truth beneath it. To understand women, you must learn to see what others overlook. You must train your awareness to catch the smallest shifts, the flicker of emotion, the pause, the quiet between words. When a woman looks at you, she is not only seeing your face, she is feeling your energy. When she speaks, she is not only testing your hearing, she is testing your presence. She is asking, "Are you here with me?" Not through her words, but through her essence. A woman's emotional world is subtle, and most men rush through it like tourists. They want maps and directions when what they need is stillness. Presence is the first language of understanding. When you are still enough to feel, when you are quiet enough to listen, you begin to see what most men miss. Understanding women is not about decoding tricks or memorizing rules. It is about attention. Attention is love in its purest form. When you give a woman your full attention, she feels seen. And when she feels seen, she opens. When she opens, she reveals herself not just through words, but through energy. You begin to notice that her emotions shift like the tide, calm one moment, crashing the next. But underneath the movement is something constant, something sacred, a longing to be felt, not fixed. Most men fail because they think logic can solve emotion. They want to argue their way into peace. But emotion is not a problem to solve. It is an experience to hold. To understand women, you must stop reacting and start witnessing. She does not need you to have all the answers. She needs to feel that you care enough to stay. When she cries, it is not always sadness. Sometimes it is release. When she gets quiet, it is not always distance. Sometimes it is protection. When she is angry, it is not always against you. Sometimes it is fear in disguise. The feminine communicates in colors, not lines. To a man who sees only black and white, everything she does will seem confusing. But to the man who learns to see shades, every emotion becomes a message. The key is not control, but curiosity. You must become a student of emotion, not a critic of behavior. Think of the moments you have misunderstood her. The times she said, "I'm fine," but wasn't. The times she pulled away and you chased harder. The times she wanted comfort and you gave advice. Those were not failures of love. They were failures of awareness. You cannot connect deeply with someone whose emotional language you refuse to learn. You can be in the same room and live in different worlds. True understanding begins when you stop trying to win and start trying to feel. When she feels you listening without defense, when she senses that your presence is stable, no matter her mood, she begins to trust you in a way that words could never create. Women are emotional mirrors. They reflect back to you the energy you bring. If you are calm, they soften. If you are chaotic, they amplify it. That is why strong men make women feel safe, not because of size or strength, but because of emotional steadiness. A man who can hold space without collapsing earns more respect than one who reacts to every storm. When you can remain grounded while she moves through waves of feeling, she starts to feel protected, not judged. And that protection is what allows her to open her heart fully. She doesn't need you to fix her waves. She needs you to anchor her through them. To see what most men miss, you must train your emotional awareness like a muscle. Start small. Watch how people express emotion. Notice tone more than words. Notice how your presence changes when you are centered versus distracted. Observe yourself in moments of conflict. Do you rush to explain, or do you slow down to feel? Awareness starts with you. The more aware you are of your own emotions, the more clearly you can read hers. A man disconnected from himself will always misread a woman. He will think she's unpredictable when in reality, she's responding to energy he doesn't see. The truth is, women are not mysterious. They are expressive. What confuses men is not women's complexity, but their own lack of sensitivity. The masculine world celebrates logic, order, and control, but emotional intelligence requires surrender. To understand women, you must let go of the need to always be right. You must allow yourself to enter her emotional rhythm without fear of losing your own balance. That is the art of emotional leadership, being firm yet fluid, steady yet compassionate, confident yet open. When you can embody both strength and empathy, you bridge the masculine and feminine within yourself. That is when connection becomes effortless. There is also a deeper layer. When a woman feels unseen, she begins to close her heart. She doesn't announce it. She withdraws quietly. Her laughter fades. Her energy shifts. Her eyes lose light. This is how relationships die, not in explosions, but in quiet disconnection. She stops speaking not because she doesn't care, but because she no longer believes you will listen. Understanding her means noticing before it gets that far. It means paying attention when she goes silent, not as an inconvenience, but as a signal. It means choosing patience over pride, presence over performance. The man who can sense emotional distance before it turns into walls becomes the man she can trust with her truth. To truly see a woman, you must also see beyond her moods. You must see the story underneath them. Every reaction has a history. Every silence has a reason. Every wall was built for protection. You do not need to break those walls. You need to make them unnecessary. That is what emotional safety does. It turns defense into openness. It invites honesty without fear. When she feels safe, she will tell you what no one else knows. She will show you who she really is. And that is the moment most men never reach, because they were too busy trying to win the argument instead of winning trust. Understanding women is not a skill you master overnight. It is a daily practice of presence, patience, and perception. You learn a little more every time you stop reacting. You grow a little deeper every time you listen instead of speak. You connect a little stronger every time you choose calm over control. It is a path of awareness that transforms not only how you relate to women, but how you relate to yourself. Because the better you understand the feminine, the more you understand life itself, movement, emotion, flow. And when you master that awareness, you stop guessing and start feeling. You stop missing the signs. You stop losing connection. You finally see what most men miss. Every woman speaks two languages. The first is the language of words, the one you can hear. The second is the language of feeling, the one you can only sense. Most men only listen to the first and never learn the second. They focus on what she says instead of what she means. They memorize sentences but never study tone. They respond to the literal while missing the emotional. This is why so many conversations turn into confusion. It is not because women are unclear. It is because men are deaf to the silent half of the message. Real understanding begins when you learn to hear not only her words but her energy. When a woman says, "I'm fine," she may mean she feels distant. When she says it's nothing, it may mean it's everything. When she goes quiet, it does not always mean she has nothing to say. It often means she does not feel safe saying it. She is reading your energy the entire time. She notices how your eyes shift when she speaks. She feels your tone even before you finish your sentence. She senses whether you are present or distracted. You cannot fake emotional presence. You can say the right thing, but if your tone carries irritation, she will feel it. You can speak calm words, but if your energy is tense, she will withdraw. The feminine hears the emotional truth before she processes the logical one. Her body understands what your words are hiding. This is why women value emotional honesty over polished speech. They are tuned to authenticity. You can impress her with words, but you connect with her through truth. The moment your tone contradicts your message, she feels the split. When you say, "I'm listening," but keep looking at your phone, she feels unseen. When you say, "I care," but rush to end the conversation, she feels unimportant. The masculine world often measures communication by efficiency. The feminine world measures it by emotional depth. You cannot shortcut emotional connection. You cannot fake sincerity for long. Her intuition will always find the gap between what you say and what you truly feel. To speak her language, you must slow down. You must listen without preparing your response. Most men listen to defend. They listen to argue. They listen to prove a point. But real listening is stillness. It is the ability to absorb emotion without reacting to it. When she speaks about her day, she is not asking you to solve it. She is asking you to feel it with her. She is not testing your logic. She is searching for resonance. If she says it was a hard day, do not rush to fix it. Ask what made it hard. Sit with her energy. Let her speak until she softens. Presence is the bridge between two hearts. Once she feels you there fully, her guard begins to fall. That is the space where understanding lives. The language beneath words is emotional tone. It flows through everything. It is in her sigh, in her pause, in the way she looks away when she feels vulnerable. It is in the way she gets louder when she wants to be heard but not judged. It is in the small details that logic misses but empathy catches. You will never decode it by analysis. You can only feel it by awareness. Awareness is not thinking more. It is thinking less and sensing more. You become like a mirror, reflecting without distortion. When you are calm, her emotions have room to breathe. When you are reactive, her emotions close off. Women do not expect perfection. They expect presence. They do not need constant solutions. They need consistent understanding. Many men fear emotion because they were never taught how to hold it. They were told to be strong, which often meant to be numb. But numbness blocks connection. You cannot understand someone whose language you refuse to feel. Emotional fluency begins with acceptance. You do not have to feel what she feels, but you must be open to it. The feminine tests not your intelligence, but your sensitivity. She wants to know that your strength can hold space for her storms, that your calm is not coldness, but grounded compassion. When she feels that, she stops explaining herself. She starts revealing herself. Think of the conversations that broke connection in your past. The moments when she said, "You don't get it," or "You're not hearing me." What she meant was that you heard the words but missed the heart. She wanted empathy, not evidence. She wanted presence, not persuasion. Emotional communication is not about right or wrong. It is about connection or disconnection. Every time you rush to defend yourself, you disconnect. Every time you slow down to feel her, you reconnect. She doesn't need you to agree with her. She needs to feel that you care enough to understand her point of view. That care builds trust faster than any logical argument ever could. Women express emotion through movement, tone, and rhythm. Their voice may rise not because they are attacking you, but because they are expressing energy that needs release. Their tears may come not from weakness, but from overflow. Their laughter can carry relief, nervousness, or joy all at once. You have to feel the vibration behind the sound. The words are only the surface. The emotion underneath is the ocean. To know her, you must dive below the surface. And to dive deep, you must be unafraid of what you might find. This skill changes everything. When you master emotional listening, conflict becomes connection. You no longer fear her emotions. You see them as information. You start to recognize her patterns. How she closes when she feels dismissed. How she brightens when she feels seen. How she softens when you hold her gaze without judgment. The more you pay attention, the clearer the language becomes. What once seemed mysterious becomes predictable in the best way. You begin to anticipate needs without being asked. You begin to communicate without words at all. The key is consistency. Emotional awareness is not something you turn on once and forget. It must become your way of being. Every time you choose to listen instead of react, you strengthen your fluency. Every time you stay calm through a storm, you build emotional trust. Every time you speak with authenticity instead of pretense, you deepen connection. Over time, she will begin to feel that you truly understand her, not because you say the right things, but because you feel the truth behind them. To speak the language beneath words, you must also master your own tone. The way you say something shapes how it lands. Speak slowly, clearly, with calm energy. The feminine senses vibration. If your words carry frustration, even gentle sentences will feel sharp. If your tone carries love, even correction feels safe. Learn to communicate with the heart first and the mouth second. Let your presence say more than your sentences. Silence, when filled with presence, speaks volumes. Eye contact, when held with peace, says everything. The more fluent you become in emotional communication, the more the world opens to you. You will notice that understanding women also teaches you to understand people. You will see how every person speaks through emotion first, words second. You will learn that connection is built not through clever language, but through genuine energy. You will stop trying to be right and start trying to be real. You will realize that every misunderstanding was just a misalignment of presence. To understand the language beneath words is to understand the essence of human connection. It requires sensitivity, patience, and courage. You must be brave enough to listen to feelings that make you uncomfortable. You must be humble enough to accept that logic is not the only truth. You must be compassionate enough to feel before you speak. When you do this, something remarkable happens. The woman in your life begins to relax in your presence. Her tone softens, her laughter deepens, her trust grows. Because, for the first time, she feels truly heard. Before a woman can love you, she must feel safe with you. Emotional safety is not about comfort. It is about trust. It is the invisible foundation beneath every deep connection. Without it, no amount of attraction, passion, or effort can last. You can buy her gifts, you can speak the right words, but if she does not feel safe being herself around you, her heart will stay guarded. Safety is what allows her to open. Safety is what allows love to grow. It is not something you demand. It is something you create. When a woman feels safe, her energy softens. Her voice becomes warm. Her guard lowers. She begins to express her real thoughts instead of filtered ones. But when she feels unsafe, everything changes. She becomes cautious. Her tone sharpens. Her body tenses. She withdraws without explaining why. Most men interpret this as rejection, but it is protection. Women protect themselves from emotional danger just as instinctively as they protect themselves from physical harm. You may never see it happen, but she feels it immediately. A look, a tone, a careless word can trigger it. Emotional safety is fragile, and once it breaks, rebuilding it takes patience and consistency. The masculine mistake is believing that safety means control. Many men try to create security by managing or dominating. They raise their voice, demand submission, or lecture when emotions rise. But real safety is the opposite. It is not about control. It is about stability. A woman feels safe when she can trust your energy, when she knows that her feelings will not be met with anger, sarcasm, or punishment, when she can speak her truth without fear of ridicule or rejection, when she senses that your presence can hold emotion without breaking under pressure. That is safety. It is emotional strength expressed through calm. You build that strength not through words, but through consistency. Every time you respond with patience, you build trust. Every time you stay calm when emotions rise, you build safety. Every time you listen without turning defensive, you build a bridge instead of a wall. Emotional safety is built one moment at a time. It is built in how you speak, how you breathe, how you hold space. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be predictable. A woman can relax around a man she can predict emotionally. Uncertainty makes her anxious. Stability allows her to open. Think about it this way. When a woman tests you, she is not trying to start conflict. She's testing the structure. She wants to see if your presence is strong enough to handle her emotion. She does not want you to react. She wants to feel that you can stay steady while she moves through her feelings. If you meet her storm with another storm, she will retreat. But if you stay grounded, she will trust you more. That is emotional leadership. You lead by staying calm. You guide by understanding. You protect not by silencing her emotion, but by making space for it to exist without fear. Every woman carries memories of moments when she was not safe, times when her emotions were dismissed, mocked, or ignored. Sometimes those experiences came from childhood, sometimes from past relationships. You cannot erase her past, but you can create a new experience in the present. You can be the man who listens without judgment. You can be the man who never uses her vulnerability as a weapon. You can be the man who shows her that not every emotional storm ends in pain. Over time, your consistency becomes her peace. Your calm becomes her anchor. The key to emotional safety is presence. Presence means you are not only physically there, but emotionally engaged. It means when she speaks, you listen with your full attention. You are not scrolling your phone. You are not planning your next reply. You are simply there. You are sensing her tone, reading her energy, understanding her emotion beneath the words. Women can feel presence. They can also feel absence. You cannot fake it. Presence tells her you are safe to be seen. Absence tells her you are alone even when I am here. Choose presence. It costs nothing and creates everything. Emotional safety also requires humility. There will be times when you are wrong, times when you react out of frustration, times when your words hurt without intention. The mistake does not destroy safety. The refusal to take responsibility does. When you apologize sincerely, you restore safety. When you deflect or blame, you break it further. A woman respects a man who owns his energy. She does not expect you to be flawless. She expects you to be accountable. Accountability shows maturity. It tells her that she can trust you not to hide behind pride. It shows her that you are emotionally aware, not emotionally afraid. Another part of safety is predictability. Not routine or control, but emotional reliability. If one day you are gentle and the next you are cold, she will never know which version of you she will meet. That inconsistency keeps her in survival mode. It teaches her to watch for signs of danger instead of relaxing into love. But when you show up with the same calm day after day, her body learns that it can rest. Her nervous system relaxes. That is not weakness. That is connection. You are teaching her through your behavior that love can feel safe. Safety also means allowing emotion without punishment. If she cries, let her. If she expresses anger, listen. Do not mock or retreat. The worst thing a man can do when a woman is vulnerable is withdraw. It teaches her that emotion equals loss. Instead, breathe. Stay steady. You do not need to fix it. You only need to witness it. Emotional safety is not silence. It is presence through emotion. When she sees that you can stay grounded through her storms, she begins to trust you with the deepest parts of herself. She starts to bring her real self to you, the unfiltered, raw, authentic version that only safety can unlock. To create safety, you must also be safe within yourself. You cannot give what you do not have. If your mind is chaotic, your energy will be too. If your emotions are repressed, you will project them. The calm you bring to her begins inside you. Learn to regulate your own emotions. Practice breathing through frustration. Observe your triggers instead of reacting to them. The more emotionally balanced you become, the more safety you radiate. Women can feel that stability instantly. It draws them in, not through dominance, but through peace. The final truth about emotional safety is this: it is the seed of lasting love. Without safety, passion fades, trust breaks, and connection weakens. With safety, everything flourishes. Love deepens, intimacy grows, communication becomes effortless. A woman does not stay because of how much you give her. She stays because of how she feels when she's around you. If she feels safe, she stays open. If she feels unsafe, she begins to close. You hold the power to create that space every day through your presence, your patience, and your peace. The man who understands emotional safety becomes unforgettable, not because he tries to impress, but because he makes her feel free. She does not have to hide, defend, or shrink. She can simply be, and in that space, she gives her best self naturally. She gives love without fear. She trusts without resistance. That is the power of emotional safety. It is invisible to the eye, but it shapes everything you see. It is silent to the ear, but it changes everything you hear. It is what turns connection into love and love into peace. Men are taught to solve problems. They are trained to fix, to repair, to make sense of things. From an early age, logic becomes their shield. It keeps the world predictable. It gives them control. But when it comes to understanding women, logic fails. It fails not because it is wrong, but because emotion does not obey it. The feminine world is not made of lines. It is made of waves. You cannot reason a wave into stillness. You can only learn how to move with it. Presence, not logic, is what creates connection. A woman does not fall in love with your arguments. She falls in love with your energy, your awareness, your steadiness. Logic is what you use to understand. Presence is what you use to feel. When a woman is emotional, most men panic. They analyze every word she says, trying to find the hidden flaw in her logic. They try to fix the emotion by explaining it away. You shouldn't feel that way. That doesn't make sense. You're overreacting. They mean well, but their logic creates distance. What they do not realize is that emotion is not meant to make sense. It is meant to be felt. When you meet her emotion with logic, she feels unseen. When you meet her with presence, she feels understood. She does not need you to solve her feeling. She needs you to hold space for it until it settles. Presence is the ability to stay still in the middle of emotion. It is awareness without reaction. It is strength without defense. When you are present, you do not try to control what she feels. You allow it to exist. You become a calm center she can trust. Presence says, I see you. I'm here. Logic says you should not feel that. One heals. The other shuts down. The more present you become, the safer she feels. The safer she feels, the more she opens. This is not about manipulation. It is about alignment. The feminine expands in the presence of calm energy. The masculine expands when it learns to stay steady through emotion. Together, they create balance. Think of the last time you argued with someone you loved. You wanted to explain your side, to prove your point. You believed that if you said the right words, she would understand. But no matter what you said, the argument only grew colder. That is because the argument was never about facts. It was about emotion. She did not need the right answer. She needed reassurance. She needed to feel that you were listening with your heart, not just your mind. When she finally felt that, her guard dropped. Logic could not reach her, but presence did. Presence is not silence. It is not emotional withdrawal. It is full awareness. It is eye contact that does not waver. It is breathing evenly when tension rises. It is choosing patience when your instinct wants to defend. A woman reads your presence faster than your words. If she feels your mind drift or your tone tighten, she knows you are no longer with her. That is when connection breaks. But when she feels your steady energy, even her storms start to calm. Her emotions do not scare you because you are rooted in your own peace. That peace gives her permission to feel without fear. Logic operates in the head. Presence operates in the body. When you try to connect through logic, you are in your thoughts. When you connect through presence, you are in your awareness. Presence is what allows you to sense what is needed without thinking about it. It allows you to notice her tone, her breathing, her eyes, the small cues that logic overlooks. It gives you the ability to respond instead of react. That is why presence wins. It turns chaos into connection. It replaces confusion with calm. It transforms misunderstanding into intimacy. Many men believe that being emotional is weakness. They think presence means suppressing emotion to appear strong. But presence is not suppression. It is control through awareness. You can feel deeply without losing your ground. That is true strength. Women are not drawn to emotional avoidance. They are drawn to emotional mastery. When you can stay centered while feeling everything, you radiate security. You become the kind of man she can trust, not because you say the right things, but because your energy proves it. Logic tries to lead the conversation. Presence lets the conversation lead itself. When you are present, you listen beyond words. You begin to sense when she is saying one thing but meaning another. You begin to feel when she is scared, when she is overwhelmed, when she is testing whether you will stay or flee. You no longer need a script because your intuition becomes sharper. The more still you are, the more you see. The more you see, the more effectively you can respond. This is emotional intelligence in action. It is not intellectual understanding. It is energetic awareness. Imagine a stormy ocean. Logic stands on the shore, yelling at the waves to calm down. Presence steps into the water, feels the pull of the tide, and moves with it. Logic fights emotion. Presence guides it. When you stop resisting and start feeling, everything changes. You begin to notice that behind every strong emotion is a simple need. A need to be heard, a need to be understood, a need to feel safe. Logic wants to define the need. Presence wants to meet it. The man who learns to meet needs without losing himself becomes a rare force of calm in a chaotic world. Presence also heals conflict faster. When you argue from logic, both sides defend their story. Each one wants to be right. But when one person chooses presence, the dynamic shifts. You stop defending and start understanding. You lower the walls that keep you separate. That is when empathy enters. Empathy is not agreement. It is understanding the feeling behind the reaction. When you reach that level, conflict turns into connection. You move from opposition to unity. You no longer fight to win. You listen to heal. To cultivate presence, you must learn to slow down. Speak slower. Breathe deeper. Notice your body. Notice her body. Most people are half present, thinking about the next thing while pretending to listen. Full presence requires training. Practice being where you are without judgment. When she speaks, focus on her eyes, her tone, her rhythm. Let her finish before you respond. When she cries, resist the urge to fix. When she withdraws, resist the urge to chase. Be still, let the emotion pass through. In that stillness, she feels your power. Not the power of control, but the power of calm. Presence also teaches you about yourself. When you stop trying to win through logic, you start seeing your own triggers. You begin to understand that most of your reactions come from fear. Fear of losing control, fear of being wrong, fear of not being enough. Once you see that, you stop projecting that fear onto her. You become free. A free man is the most attractive energy there is. He does not need to dominate. His peace does it for him. In relationships, logic has its place. It builds structure, clarity, and stability. But connection belongs to presence. You can use logic to plan a future, but you use presence to create love. When a woman feels your presence, she feels protected. When she feels your logic, she feels managed. One invites trust, the other invites distance. The difference is subtle but powerful. Presence listens. Logic instructs. Presence accepts. Logic corrects. Presence opens the heart. Logic closes it. The truth is simple. Women do not want perfection. They want to feel seen. They want to know that when they open their hearts, you will not close yours. They want to feel that your energy can handle their emotion without fear. Logic cannot give them that. Only presence can. Presence is your greatest gift, your greatest strength, and your greatest teacher. It is what separates a man who talks from a man who connects. The world has enough logic. What it needs is more presence. Every woman moves through an emotional rhythm that shapes how she feels, connects, and responds. It is not random. It is not chaos. It is a cycle. Like the ocean, her emotions have tides. They rise, they peak, they recede, they rest. To the unaware man, it looks like unpredictability. To the wise man, it is a pattern that can be understood. Once you see this cycle, you stop reacting to every wave. You learn when to stand firm and when to step back. You stop taking emotion personally and start seeing it as movement. Understanding this cycle is one of the most powerful skills a man can develop because it changes how you experience her and how she experiences you. The emotional cycle has 4 stages: the build, the release, the reflection, and the reset. Each stage has its own energy. Each requires a different response from you. When you are unaware, you meet every stage the same way, with confusion or defensiveness. When you become aware, you meet each stage with patience and precision. You stop seeing emotion as attack and start seeing it as communication. You stop fearing it. You start reading it. And when you can read it, you can lead through it. The first stage is the build. This is when emotion starts to rise beneath the surface. You might notice her tone shift slightly. She becomes quieter or shorter in her replies. Her body language changes. She may not even know what she is feeling yet, but something is stirring. This is the moment when most men ignore the signs. They tell themselves everything is fine, or they get irritated that something feels off. But if you learn to recognize the build, you can prevent the storm. The right move in this stage is presence. Do not ask what is wrong with tension. Ask with care. Invite her to share. Sometimes she will not be ready to talk. That is fine. Your calm energy tells her that she can come to you when she is ready. The key is to stay open, not to pry. Awareness here builds trust. The second stage is the release. This is when the emotion peaks. It can look like anger, tears, withdrawal, or overwhelm. She is not attacking you. She is releasing energy that has built up. Many men make the mistake of arguing in this stage. They raise their voice or defend themselves. They try to bring logic into a storm. But logic does not work here. The only thing that works is stability. When she is releasing, she needs space, not solutions. You hold the emotional container. That means you breathe, stay calm, and let her express. Do not mirror her energy. Do not match her volume. Let her release what she needs to release. When you stay calm, she begins to self-regulate. Your steadiness becomes her anchor. After the release comes calm. The emotion moves through and peace follows. The third stage is reflection. This is when she starts to make sense of what she felt. The storm has passed, and she can see clearly again. She might feel vulnerable or even guilty for her intensity. This is the moment for understanding. Do not remind her of how she acted. Do not hold it over her. Just listen. Let her talk. Let her reflect without shame. This is where emotional safety deepens. When she realizes you did not withdraw or judge her, she feels safe opening again. This is the stage where closeness is rebuilt. It is where connection becomes deeper than before. The man who can remain gentle in this stage creates an emotional bond that logic could never achieve. The fourth stage is the reset. This is when her energy balances again. She returns to her natural rhythm. Laughter comes back. Lightness returns. This is the reward for your patience. But remember, the cycle does not end. It repeats. The goal is not to eliminate the emotional cycle, but to understand it. When you understand it, you move with it instead of against it. You stop fearing her emotions and start respecting their purpose. Emotion is not weakness. It is her compass. It is how she processes life. Your role is not to quiet her ocean, but to learn how to navigate it. This understanding also applies to attraction. The emotional cycle influences how connected or distant she feels. When she feels emotionally supported, attraction grows. When she feels misunderstood, attraction fades. A woman connects through emotion. If her emotional world feels heavy or unsafe, she begins to pull back. But when her emotions flow freely in your presence, she feels alive. She associates that aliveness with you. That is why the man who understands her emotional rhythm always feels magnetic. He does not chase attention. He creates energy she wants to be near. Understanding the cycle also protects you from confusion. Without awareness, you take everything personally. You think her silence means she stopped caring. You think her frustration means she'd lost interest. But often, it has nothing to do with you. She's simply moving through her cycle. When you recognize that, you stop reacting to every shift. You stay grounded. You give her space when needed and closeness when invited. That balance is emotional maturity. It shows her you can handle not only her love, but also her depth. The more you study her rhythm, the more intuitive you become. You start to sense what she needs without being told. You begin to anticipate when she needs support or when she needs space. You become fluent in her emotional language. This is not control, it is awareness. Awareness gives you power, but not over her. Power over yourself. It allows you to choose peace instead of reaction. It allows you to guide instead of argue. That is what creates emotional leadership. To understand the emotional cycle, you must also understand your own. Men have emotional patterns too, though often hidden behind logic or silence. When you ignore your own feelings, you cannot hold space for hers. You will take her emotion as threat instead of information. But when you learn to feel your own rhythm, you stop fearing hers. You begin to see that emotion is not the enemy. Emotion is connection. It is life moving through you both in different forms. The masculine tends to hold, the feminine tends to express. When you can balance the two, harmony appears naturally. The secret is patience. Do not rush her process. Do not demand instant calm. A woman's emotions are not switches to be turned off. They are waves to be respected. The moment you stop fighting the wave, you begin to surf it. You start moving with her flow instead of against it. You start leading with compassion instead of control. You realize that understanding is not agreement. It is awareness. You do not need to fix her emotion. You only need to hold it with strength and care. The man who understands the emotional cycle is rare. He does not fear intensity. He does not get lost in reaction. He does not shut down when things get loud. He stays centered. He stays kind. He stays steady. And because of that, women trust him. They relax around him. They open to him. They reveal themselves completely. That is not luck. That is presence. That is awareness turned into love. To master the emotional cycle is to master connection itself. It is the ability to see beyond the noise and into the rhythm of emotion. It is knowing that every rise and fall carries purpose. It is realizing that love is not about control, but about balance. You do not stop the waves. You become the calm in the center of them. That calm changes everything. It turns confusion into clarity, resistance into trust, distance into closeness. The man who understands the emotional cycle no longer fears emotion. He moves with it, learns from it, and uses it to create harmony. He becomes the kind of man every woman feels safe to love. Attraction is energy before it is appearance. It is presence before it is words. It is the unspoken connection that pulls two people toward each other without explanation. Most men are taught that attraction is about what they have or what they look like. They believe confidence comes from achievements or status. But true attraction begins long before any of that. It begins in how you carry yourself, in the peace you radiate, in the strength that has nothing to prove. A woman may notice your face, but she feels your energy. She may see your style, but she stays for your essence. Physical attraction draws attention. Emotional energy keeps it. When a man relies only on looks or possessions to attract, he builds connection on unstable ground. The surface fades, but energy endures. A woman's subconscious mind reads your emotional state before her eyes take in your appearance. She feels whether your confidence is rooted or borrowed. She senses whether your calm is genuine or performed. You cannot pretend to be grounded. Your energy reveals everything. That is why some men with quiet confidence seem magnetic without effort. They are aligned. Their self-worth is not conditional. They do not chase approval, and that freedom becomes irresistible. Real attraction grows from inner power. Inner power is self-respect, self-awareness, and self-control. It is the ability to stay calm in conflict, steady in uncertainty, and kind in strength. When a woman feels that energy, she relaxes. Her feminine essence opens in the presence of grounded masculinity. This is not about dominance. It is about polarity. Polarity is the natural dance of masculine and feminine energy. When the masculine stands firm, the feminine flows freely. When the masculine doubts itself, the feminine becomes unsettled. This is nature's balance. You do not control it. You embody it. The secret is energy integrity. Integrity means your inner state and outer expression match. You speak what you mean. You live what you say. You treat others with respect because you respect yourself. When you are aligned like that, your presence carries weight. You do not need validation. You do not seek attention. You simply exist with certainty. Women feel that deeply. They feel safe around it. They are drawn to it because it feels stable in a world full of instability. The attraction that lasts always begins with integrity. Many men mistake attraction for manipulation. They learn tactics, lines, or tricks to provoke interest. But manipulation creates tension, not connection. It may attract attention for a moment, but it cannot sustain respect. A woman may be intrigued by a mystery, but she bonds through truth. The more authentic you are, the more magnetic you become. Authenticity is powerful because it is rare. Most people hide behind masks. When you live openly, with purpose and peace, you stand out without trying. Real confidence is quiet. It does not compete. It creates gravity. There is a deeper level to attraction that goes beyond appearance or charm. It lives in emotional polarity. The feminine is drawn to direction, certainty, and purpose. The masculine is drawn to openness, warmth, and flow. When a man has no direction, his energy feels scattered. When a woman has no openness, her energy feels distant. Together, polarity disappears. Attraction fades. But when you hold clear purpose and she feels free to express, connection comes alive again. That is why men who know where they are going inspire trust. A man with purpose radiates clarity. His focus becomes attractive because it feels dependable. The feminine feels safe to flow around direction. This does not mean you must be rich or powerful. It means you must be certain. You must know what you stand for. A woman can feel when a man is living with meaning. It shows in his posture, his tone, his eyes. It shows in how he moves through the world. He does not need to announce who he is. His energy does it for him. When you have purpose, everything about you communicates depth. Even silence feels confident. Even stillness feels alive. Attraction also grows from emotional strength. Women feel safe with men who can regulate emotion without repression. When you can face frustration without aggression, when you can handle disagreement without disrespect, you project maturity. That maturity creates trust. It shows that your power is not fragile. That is what allows her to relax into femininity. Emotional strength is not about being cold. It is about being stable. It is knowing that you can hold your own energy no matter what happens around you. Every woman feels the difference between a man who needs her validation and a man who values her presence. One takes energy, the other shares it. One drains, the other inspires. When your happiness depends on her approval, she feels pressure. When your happiness comes from inner peace, she feels freedom. That freedom creates attraction. It allows her to choose you, not out of need, but out of desire. The more self-sufficient your energy, the stronger your presence becomes. Independence is attractive because it signals wholeness. Wholeness is rare. Everyone wants to be around it. Another key to deep attraction is emotional polarity during conflict. Most men lose attraction when tension rises because they react emotionally. They become defensive, sarcastic, or withdrawn. But the men who maintain calm become more magnetic. Calmness under pressure is the language of strength. When she sees that you do not crumble under emotional heat, she begins to respect your presence even more. She feels that you can handle her intensity and that safety becomes desire. Stability creates attraction far stronger than any words could. The way you carry yourself matters more than what you say. When you walk into a room with grounded energy, people notice without understanding why. That stillness commands attention. It is the quiet power that speaks louder than words. You cultivate it through self-discipline, reflection, and purpose. You stop chasing attention and start building presence. Presence is built in the silence of self-awareness. It grows when you face your fears, when you forgive your past, when you stop comparing and start creating. Each act of self-mastery adds weight to your energy, and that weight is felt, not seen. True attraction is not about perfection. It is about authenticity combined with consistency. You become attractive not because you never falter, but because you recover with grace. You admit mistakes. You grow, you remain kind. These qualities build trust over time. Physical beauty fades, but character deepens. A woman who feels seen, respected, and safe around you will never forget that energy. You may not always understand each other logically, but if she feels your truth, she will stay connected. Attraction beyond looks is the art of embodying strength with softness, focus with compassion, discipline with empathy. It is a balance few men learn, but those who do never need to chase love. Love finds them. Because women are drawn not to men who seek to impress, but to men who inspire peace. They are drawn to the man whose energy feels like home, the one who stands firm yet makes her feel free. That is the essence of attraction that endures. When you understand this, everything changes. You stop performing, you start being, you stop chasing validation and start cultivating depth. You realize that your greatest magnetism lies in your stillness, your truth, and your purpose. You no longer need to prove yourself because your energy speaks louder than your words ever could. The man who knows who he is does not need to be seen. He already is, and that is what makes him unforgettable. Every woman has triggers that close her heart. They are not random. They are emotional reflexes built from past experiences, disappointments, and moments where she felt unseen or unsafe. These triggers are not weaknesses. They are defenses. They are her way of protecting herself from being hurt again. When a man does not understand these triggers, he keeps running into invisible walls. He thinks she is moody or distant, when in truth she is protecting herself from emotional pain. To truly connect with a woman, you must learn what shuts her down and how to create the space where she feels safe to stay open. A trigger is not about the present moment. It is about the past being awakened in the present. Something you say or do touches a memory her body still remembers. The tone of your voice, the way you dismiss a feeling, the look of impatience in your eyes, all of it can pull her back into an old emotional wound. When that happens, her defenses rise instantly. She closes off, withdraws, or becomes reactive. Most men misinterpret this as disrespect or manipulation, but it is often fear disguised as anger. When she feels emotionally unsafe, her body goes into survival mode. And once she is there, no amount of logic or reassurance can reach her until the feeling of safety returns. The first trigger that shuts women down is dismissal. When she shares something emotional and you minimize it, she feels invisible. It can sound small. You're overthinking. It's not that serious. Why do you always make a big deal? But those phrases cut deep. They tell her that her inner world does not matter. They teach her that expressing emotion is pointless. Once that lesson sinks in, she starts to silence herself. The more you dismiss her feelings, the less she will reveal. Eventually, she will go quiet. Silence is not peace, it is surrender. When a woman stops speaking, it is not because she is calm. It is because she no longer believes you are listening. The second trigger is emotional neglect. It happens when she reaches out for connection and you are unavailable. It can be physical absence or emotional distance. When you are distracted, detached, or too busy to notice her energy, she starts to feel alone, even in your presence. A woman does not need you to fix her problems, but she needs to feel that you care enough to notice. Attention is emotional nourishment. Without it, connection starves. You cannot expect her to stay open when she feels unseen. Your consistency tells her that she matters. Your presence tells her that she is safe. Every time you choose to be attentive rather than indifferent, you rebuild that safety. The third trigger is harshness. Women are sensitive to tone. The energy behind your words speaks louder than the words themselves. A sharp tone, sarcasm, or coldness can make her shut down faster than an argument. The feminine heart closes around hardness. You do not need to yell to wound her. Sometimes silence filled with anger hurts more than shouting. When you let irritation take over, she no longer feels protected. She feels punished. That moment changes her body language, her openness, her willingness to trust. Emotional safety vanishes. A woman can forgive mistakes, but she struggles to forget how your tone made her feel. To her, safety lives in softness, not in power. The fourth trigger is betrayal of trust. This does not always mean infidelity. It can be any form of broken honesty, promises you forget, words you do not keep, emotions you hide. Every small lie chips away at her ability to feel secure. The feminine energy thrives on truth because truth brings clarity, and clarity creates peace. When a woman starts questioning your honesty, her emotions grow restless. She becomes distant, not because she stopped caring, but because uncertainty feels dangerous. You can only rebuild trust with transparency. Speak truthfully, even when it is uncomfortable. Honesty may sting for a moment, but dishonesty wounds forever. The fifth trigger is emotional withdrawal during conflict. When a woman is upset and you shut down or walk away, she feels abandoned. To her, withdrawal equals rejection. She needs to feel that you are emotionally available even during tension. When you disappear, she feels that her feelings are too much to handle. That belief closes her heart. She starts to protect herself from further disappointment. The right response is not to retreat, but to stay calm and present. You do not have to say much. Just stay near, grounded, patient. Your stillness communicates safety more than any explanation could. Recognizing these triggers is only the first step. The next is learning how to prevent them. Prevention begins with awareness. When you sense her energy shift, do not ignore it. Ask with genuine care, what's happening inside you right now? Listen fully. Avoid correcting or defending. Let her speak until she feels heard. The more she feels understood, the faster the tension dissolves. Presence is the cure to reactivity. The moment she feels your grounded awareness, her nervous system relaxes. Her body begins to remember safety again. The faster you can bring her back to safety, the less she will need to close off. There is also the matter of your own triggers. Often her reaction awakens yours. When she gets emotional, you may feel attacked or misunderstood. Your instinct is to protect yourself. But if you let your triggers meet hers, conflict becomes chaos. Someone must choose awareness first. As a man, that responsibility is yours. You set the emotional tone. If you remain calm, her emotions eventually match your energy. If you escalate, you both lose control. The man who can stay centered while she spirals becomes the man she can trust through anything. That trust is the foundation of unbreakable love. Sometimes her triggers will not make sense to you. They may seem small, even irrational. But remember, emotion is not logic. You do not have to understand the reason to respect the feeling. When you show compassion, even when you do not fully understand, you communicate safety. That compassion heals old wounds that logic cannot reach. Over time, she begins to associate your presence with peace. You become the place where her emotions find rest. The man who understands what shuts a woman down gains a quiet power. He no longer fears her reactions. He recognizes that emotion is not the enemy. He knows that anger may be a cry for safety, that silence may be a plea for understanding. He sees beyond behavior into the emotional truth beneath it. That awareness turns conflict into connection. It turns distance into trust. It turns fear into closeness. To keep her heart open, you must become her calm. Not by controlling her emotions, but by mastering your own. You must be the steady force that reminds her she is safe, even when her emotions rise. You must show her through your tone, your patience, and your consistency that her feelings are not too much. When she believes that, she opens. When she opens, love flows freely again. That is how you move from argument to intimacy. You stop reacting and start leading with empathy. The triggers that shut her down are not meant to scare you. They are invitations to understand her better. They reveal the places where love must be more patient, more gentle, more aware. If you can meet her triggers with calm and compassion, you will create a connection few men ever reach. You will not only understand her, you will become her peace. And that is the deepest form of attraction there is. When she feels that being around you means she can finally be herself without fear. Every woman will test your strength, not because she wants to hurt you, but because she wants to feel safe with you. She tests not out of cruelty, but out of instinct. Deep down, she needs to know that your words are real, that your calm is stable, that your strength is not just a performance. These tests are not games. They are how the feminine measures truth. A woman does not test to destroy you. She tests to find out who you really are beneath comfort, beneath control, beneath your best face. And when she finds steadiness there, her trust deepens. Her respect grows. Her love expands. Most men misunderstand these moments. They see the test as challenge, disrespect, or rejection. They react with anger, or they collapse into guilt. They argue, defend, or retreat. They take it personally instead of seeing it for what it is, an opportunity to prove consistency. The truth is simple. A woman's trust in your strength is not built when things are easy. It is built when things become emotional, uncertain, or difficult. It is built when you stay grounded while she moves through her storms. You do not earn trust through perfection. You earn it through presence. A test can come in many forms. It can be a question that challenges your confidence. It can be a moment when she pulls away to see if you will chase. It can be an argument where she raises her voice to see if you will stay calm. It can even be silence, designed to see if you will stay patient. These are not manipulations. They are emotional reflexes. The feminine feels safest when the masculine stays steady. When your calm does not break, when your tone stays soft, when your words remain kind, that is when she begins to relax. She realizes you are not like the rest. You are not reacting to her emotion. You are leading it. When she tests, she is asking questions her words do not say. She is asking, can I trust you with my emotions? Will you stay when things get hard? Is your calm real or temporary? Do you lose yourself when I lose mine? Every test is a search for those answers. The wrong move is to meet her emotion with ego. The right move is to meet it with awareness. Ego fights. Awareness listens. Ego reacts. Awareness leads. You do not need to win the moment. You only need to show that her emotion cannot shake your stability. One of the most common tests is emotional intensity. She raises her voice, her energy changes, and suddenly the atmosphere feels heavy. Most men either try to overpower that intensity or escape it. They yell or go silent. Both responses break connection. What she needs in that moment is not dominance or withdrawal. She needs containment. Containment means your energy stays grounded. It means you breathe deeply, hold eye contact, and stay calm even when she's emotional. You do not absorb her energy. You anchor it. You let her emotion move without being swept away. That stability makes her feel protected. When she feels that, her intensity fades. The storm passes because you did not feed it. Another form of testing comes through inconsistency. She may act distant after deep closeness. She may question your love even after you have shown it. She may challenge your patience just to see if your calm is real. These moments are not betrayal. They are instinct. The feminine tests most when she starts to care deeply. It is her way of checking if the foundation can hold. If you collapse, she feels unsafe. If you stay steady, she feels secure. Women test not to find your weakness, but to confirm your reliability. They want to see that your peace is not dependent on their approval. When you can remain centered even when misunderstood, she begins to relax into trust. Sometimes the test is silence. She may go quiet, stop texting, or withdraw emotionally. Many men panic in that space. They chase, demand answers, or assume the worst. But silence is often a mirror. She wants to see what you do when you are uncertain. She wants to feel if your energy stays confident when attention is withdrawn. The best response to silence is patience. Do not chase out of fear. Do not withdraw out of pride. Stay open, calm, and consistent. Reach out with respect, not desperation. Your energy tells her everything. If you remain steady, she will feel it. If you collapse into insecurity, she will sense that too. The man who can hold emotional patience earns respect that lasts far beyond attraction. Women also test through emotional honesty. They will tell you truths that make you uncomfortable just to see how you respond. If you get defensive, you fail the test. If you listen with humility, you pass. Emotional strength is not about being right. It is about being receptive. When she shares a hard truth and you respond with understanding instead of ego, she sees emotional maturity. She sees a man who values growth more than pride. That kind of strength draws her closer because it signals safety. The feminine opens in the presence of humility. The masculine grows through feedback. Together they build balance. You will also face subtle tests of consistency. She will watch how you handle your life outside the relationship. How you manage stress, how you treat others, how you honor your word. Women notice everything. They feel when a man's actions align with his values. They sense when a man lives with integrity, even when no one is watching. That consistency is what builds emotional attraction. A woman cannot trust a man who shifts with the wind. She trusts the one whose direction stays clear the one whose emotions do not control his actions, the one who remains grounded in truth. Passing her tests is not about performance. It is about being real. You do not need to act unbothered or emotionless. You need to stay emotionally aware. You can be passionate without losing control. You can care deeply without becoming dependent. You can disagree without becoming cruel. The point of her testing is not to break you, but to bring out your authentic steadiness. It reveals where you are strong and where you still need growth. Each test is an invitation to evolve. The more aware you become, the less you fear them. The most powerful thing you can do when she tests you is stay present. Do not take it as attack. Take it as communication. She is not trying to destroy the connection. She is checking if it is strong enough to hold her full self. Your job is not to argue or withdraw. Your job is to hold, to breathe, to remain steady. When she sees that her emotion does not scare you, she begins to relax. She begins to trust that your strength is real. That is when love deepens. That is when attraction becomes respect. Every test is a doorway to deeper connection if you can meet it with awareness. When you stop reacting and start leading, she feels safe to bring more of herself to you. She no longer hides emotion or fear because she knows you can handle it. That is how emotional intimacy grows. It is not born in comfort. It's born in the moments when emotions rise and steadiness remains. The woman who tests you is not your enemy. She's your mirror. She reflects back your emotional strength or your instability. She helps you grow if you pay attention. Instead of resenting the test, thank it. It reveals where you must mature. It teaches you how to stay calm in chaos, gentle in intensity, loving in challenge. Every test is a chance to prove that your peace is real. The man who learns to meet these tests with grace becomes the man who commands both love and respect. Because when she knows your strength is steady, she no longer needs to test. She simply trusts. At the core of every woman lies a deep desire for growth and connection. This is not a want that comes and goes. It is a rhythm that defines her nature. The feminine spirit thrives when it feels expansion. It dies slowly when confined. She does not simply want a relationship. She wants an emotional journey. She wants to evolve through love. She wants to feel that the connection she shares with you is alive, moving, and growing. When the relationship feels stagnant, she starts to pull away, not because she stopped loving you, but because she stopped feeling alive within the love. The feminine seeks emotional movement. She wants to feel depth, surprise, intimacy, and change. To her, growth is connection. The more a relationship evolves, the more she invests. The moment it feels predictable, she begins to drift into her thoughts, wondering where the spark went. It is not attention she seeks, but aliveness. A man who understands this never lets the relationship become routine. He does not chase drama, but he nurtures freshness. He brings curiosity into every moment. He keeps learning who she is today, instead of assuming she is the same person she was yesterday. That is what keeps her connected. Growth for the feminine does not always mean grand achievements or new experiences. Sometimes it means emotional depth. It means feeling seen in new ways. It means knowing that her feelings matter, that her dreams are heard. When she shares something from her heart and you truly listen, she feels that movement inside. When you ask about her passions, her fears, her visions, she feels expansion. It tells her she is growing through love, not shrinking in it. That feeling of emotional expansion is what keeps her heart open. The feminine also seeks connection through presence. She feels closest to you, not when you talk about love, but when you embody it. She connects through eye contact, through the tone of your voice, through the way you touch her without agenda. These are the moments that tell her she is safe to open. When you are distracted, she feels distance. When you are fully there, she feels connection. Her nervous system responds to your awareness. That is why the more present you are, the more peaceful she becomes. A woman's emotional safety is not built through promises, but through consistent energy. The masculine often thinks love is maintained through logic, structure, and effort. He believes that if he provides stability, love should remain steady. But love is not mechanical. It breathes, it shifts, it needs energy. The feminine grows through emotion, not systems. She needs to feel that the relationship is alive. When everything becomes predictable, her spirit starts to fade. That is when she begins to seek emotional variety, not necessarily in other people, but in experiences that make her feel again. The man who understands this brings life into the connection through emotional presence, not through control. One of the greatest mistakes men make is assuming that consistency means routine. They stop exploring their partner's heart because they believe they already know it. But women change. Their emotions, dreams, and desires evolve constantly. What moved her a year ago might not move her today. The man who keeps discovering her never loses connection. He notices small details. A new way she laughs, a new thought she expresses, a new rhythm in her energy. He stays curious. Curiosity keeps the bond alive because it tells her that she is still being seen. And being seen is what keeps the feminine open. A woman also seeks growth within herself. She wants to expand her mind, her confidence, her purpose. When you support her evolution, she associates that growth with your love. When you limit her or make her feel small, she starts to close off. True masculine strength is not threatened by her growth. It celebrates it. It knows that her expansion adds beauty to the relationship, not distance. The man who encourages her to grow becomes the one she trusts most deeply, because she knows he does not love her for how she fits his world. He loves her for who she becomes within it. Connection to the feminine is sacred. It is her way of feeling life. She feels most connected when there is emotional honesty, when she can express her truth without fear, when she can be messy, imperfect, and emotional and still be accepted. That kind of connection does not happen through grand gestures. It happens in the quiet moments, when you choose to listen instead of defend, when you choose to stay instead of flee, when you choose to understand instead of judge. Each of those choices strengthens her trust. Each act of patience deepens her love. The feminine heart blooms in an environment of emotional safety. A woman tests not only your strength, but also your willingness to grow with her. She wants to see if you can evolve as love evolves. When you resist change, she feels disconnected. When you grow with her, she feels secure. This is why emotional maturity is so vital. A mature man knows that growth is uncomfortable but necessary. He does not fear new conversations or new layers of vulnerability. He welcomes them. He knows that love, to stay alive, must keep expanding. He sees the relationship as a living organism that needs nourishment, not maintenance. To maintain connection, you must meet her in growth. Talk about dreams. Explore emotions. Create experiences that awaken both of you. Travel, learn, and evolve together. Share silence without discomfort. Make plans that excite her spirit. Love that grows is love that stays alive. It keeps both partners emotionally awake. It reminds the feminine that she can expand within the relationship instead of outgrowing it. The man who provides both stability and evolution becomes her emotional home. Growth also means emotional reflection. A woman feels connected when she sees you growing too. When you learn from mistakes, when you communicate better, when you show humility, she feels hope. She sees that love is moving forward. Nothing creates deeper intimacy than mutual evolution. When both people choose awareness over ego, love deepens naturally. You do not need to force connection. It becomes the byproduct of shared growth. A woman's need for growth and connection is not complicated. It is nature. The feminine is life energy itself, always changing, always flowing, always seeking meaning. When that energy is met with masculine awareness and purpose, harmony is created. Together, they move like the tide and the moon, always influencing, always balancing. Connection becomes effortless when both understand their nature. The masculine holds direction. The feminine flows with emotion. Together, they create movement that feels alive. If you want a woman to stay deeply connected, do not just love her. Grow with her. Do not just protect her. Inspire her. Do not just listen to her words. Feel her energy. Be curious about her heart. Remind her that love is not a cage, but a journey. When she feels that she can evolve beside you, she will never feel trapped. She will feel free, and in that freedom, she will love you even more. The feminine does not want perfection. She wants participation. She wants to feel that you are alive with her, that you care enough to evolve together, that you are strong enough to lead without controlling, that you are aware enough to understand her emotional world. When she feels that, she does not need reassurance. Your energy becomes reassurance itself. Growth and connection become the foundation of unbreakable love. Love is not something you keep. It is something you grow. The woman who feels alive in your presence will always return to you, because you are not just a partner. You are her reminder that life can keep expanding. You are the space where her emotions, her dreams, and her essence are safe to flourish. That is what every woman desires. Not just a man to stand beside her, but a man to grow with her, heart to heart, soul to soul. Every woman carries one silent question deep in her heart. Can I trust you? It is not asked with words, but with her energy, her emotions, and her reactions. Trust is not about promises. It is about consistency. It is about the alignment between what you say and what you do. Every woman wants to feel that the man beside her will stay steady through both peace and chaos. She wants to know that his strength is not conditional and that his love is not dependent on her perfection. To become the man she can trust forever, you must master yourself first. Because trust begins not with her, but with you. Trust is built in small moments. It grows when your actions match your words, when your tone stays calm during tension, when your attention stays focused even when you are tired. She notices everything. She feels the truth in your energy before she hears it in your voice. When you are consistent, her body relaxes around you. When you are unpredictable, she begins to guard herself. A woman's trust lives in her nervous system. She does not decide to trust. She feels safe enough to trust. The man who understands this learns that reliability is love in action. To be trusted, you must first trust yourself. That means knowing who you are and standing firm in it. It means speaking truth even when it is uncomfortable. It means keeping your word to yourself as much as you keep it to others. Self-trust is the root of masculine power. Without it, your energy feels shaky, and a woman can sense it instantly. When you hesitate to express your truth, she feels uncertainty. When you doubt your purpose, she feels instability. But when you move with clarity, when your words carry conviction, she feels safe to surrender into your leadership. Self-trust creates emotional gravity. A woman's trust does not grow because you never fail. It grows because you handle failure with integrity. When you make mistakes, take responsibility. When you hurt her, acknowledge it fully. Do not hide behind pride or justification. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is proof of strength. It shows her that you value connection more than ego. The masculine that hides its flaws becomes rigid. The masculine that owns its truth becomes powerful. Every time you choose honesty over comfort, you strengthen her faith in you. She learns that even in your imperfections, your heart remains solid. Another element of trust is emotional steadiness. A woman needs to know that you can hold her emotions without losing your balance. When she cries, when she becomes angry, when she feels lost, your response defines the relationship. If you meet her with irritation, she feels unsafe. If you meet her with presence, she feels protected. Emotional steadiness means that your mood does not depend on hers. You are the calm in the center of the storm. When she feels your calmness, her body begins to relax. Her trust grows, not because of what you say, but because of how you make her feel when she is vulnerable. To be the man she can trust forever, you must also embody direction. The feminine needs to feel that the masculine has purpose, not control, but clarity. Purpose creates safety because it shows leadership. It shows that you are not drifting through life, that you have vision and discipline. A man without direction leaves the feminine to lead, and that imbalance slowly drains the relationship. When you walk with purpose, she feels that your energy is grounded. She feels safe to follow your guidance because she senses that you know where you are going. Purpose gives your presence weight. Trust also grows through emotional transparency. Be clear about what you feel, what you want, and what you fear. A woman cannot connect with a wall. When you hide your emotions, she feels the distance and begins to fill the gaps with imagination. Openness removes that uncertainty. It invites her into your world. It shows her that you are not afraid of intimacy. The masculine that can reveal its heart without losing its center becomes irresistible. Transparency builds intimacy faster than charm ever could. It makes her feel seen, and when she feels seen, she opens completely. There is a sacred responsibility that comes with her trust. When a woman gives you her heart, she gives you access to her deepest self. She allows you to see her fears, her dreams, her softness. If you misuse that access through neglect or disrespect, she will never forget it. Once broken, trust takes time to rebuild. But when you protect that vulnerability, when you treat her openness as a gift, she will trust you completely. Protection is not about control. It is about awareness. It is knowing that your energy shapes her safety. The more conscious you are of that power, the stronger your bond becomes. Becoming a man she can trust forever also means being consistent in how you treat her. Do not be warm one day and cold the next. Do not show affection only when it is convenient. Emotional consistency tells her that she can relax in your love. Inconsistency creates anxiety. Love is not about constant excitement. It's about constant reassurance through stability. When she feels your steady energy day after day, her heart stops anticipating loss. She settles into the peace of your presence. That peace becomes the foundation of unbreakable intimacy. Trust is also built through how you handle conflict. Every disagreement is an opportunity to strengthen or weaken the bond. When you argue with respect, when you listen instead of defend, when you express without attacking, she learns that even in tension, she is safe. A man who can handle conflict with grace creates emotional depth. Because love without conflict is fantasy, but love that survives conflict is truth. The man who leads through difficulty with patience becomes unforgettable. She will remember how you made her feel during her worst moments more than she remembers what you said during your best. To become the man she can trust forever, your presence must be both powerful and gentle. Power without gentleness feels intimidating. Gentleness without power feels weak. But together they create safety. Power gives her confidence in your leadership. Gentleness gives her peace in your heart. When she feels both, she begins to trust you not only with her emotions, but with her entire being. She will follow your guidance, open her soul, and give you the kind of love most men only dream of experiencing. Trust is not something you demand. It is something you earn every day through awareness, consistency, and emotional maturity. It is the quiet strength that keeps love grounded when life becomes uncertain. It is the discipline to stay kind when ego wants to win. It is the ability to lead without controlling. It is the choice to remain honest even when lies would be easier. The man who lives by these principles becomes the one she can trust for a lifetime. Not because he is perfect, but because he is real. When you embody trustworthiness, love becomes effortless. You no longer chase her loyalty because it flows naturally from her safety. You no longer worry about losing her because she feels secure in your presence. You no longer need to prove yourself because your consistency speaks louder than your promises. The man who can be trusted forever is not the one who never makes mistakes. He is the one who never stops growing, never stops caring, and never stops standing in truth. He is the calm that holds love steady. He is the presence that makes her feel home. In the end, becoming the man she can trust forever is not about her at all. It's about becoming the kind of man who can trust himself completely. When your heart, mind, and actions align, your energy becomes pure. That energy creates safety, respect, and love that lasts a lifetime. A woman does not fall in love with perfection. She falls in love with integrity. She falls in love with the peace that comes from your steadiness. When you become that man, trust is no longer something you build. It becomes something you are.